January. Quite literally the best reading month that I've had in a really long time. I just started out 2024 on such a good note, and if it gets worse from here, I'm gonna be annoyed. The very first book I read this month, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I did pick this book out in my January TBR video because I wrapped my whole physical TBR. So I've been doing mystery TBR picks, which has been a lot of fun. When this book came out, I did not want to read it. And so many people were talking about it. I've seen so many wrap-ups. It's a well-loved book, and I now understand why. I gave it 5 stars. It is about Addie, who makes a deal at night with a god. I say a deal with the devil, that kind of thing, like genie in a bottle kind of situation. And of course, he twists her words and she ends up living forever. Addie's kind of curse, she gets to live forever, she gets to have this immortal life, but no one will ever remember her. So the second a door closes, everyone forgets her existence. So she is never remembered by anyone. And the one way Addie leaves her mark in the world is through art and kind of goes behind the devil's back. Loved it for what it was. So I actually listened to it while I reorganized my bookshelf, which is a totally separate video, but in that video I'm listening to this book. So first book of 2024 was a 5-star, which I'm really, really happy about. This is my February TBR. If you want to see that, go on my Bookstagram. I did a reel. You can go look at my February TBR there. Okay, and now I really quick just want to tell you guys that I did reread Kingdom of Ash, which is down there, and I'm not going to grab it. And then I did reread Crescent City 1 and Crescent City 2. And I did my deep reread annotating system on this. I feel like this series doesn't get a lot of love, and I can kind of see why. If you start out with ACOTAR, and then you read Throne of Glass, and then you pick up this series, it's different. Its own world, different characters, new characters, lots of point of views, very modern fantasy, and the romantasy in it isn't as like intense. And I feel like ACOTAR and Throne of Glass kind of have these historical feeling to it, which in my opinion has a bigger impact on the romance. So I think a lot of people don't love this series. I absolutely love it because of my reread. Going into this reread, I was not that excited. The only reason I was excited was because of the new book. I got a lot more out of these books during the reread, and as you can tell, I went hard with the annotating. Both of these books took me the whole month to read through. Like, I took my time. I was not rushing through. I gave the first book 5 stars, and I gave this one 4.5 because I do think this one kind of loses itself with the POVs. It got really, really redundant, and like, I didn't love this one as much as this one, but I still really liked it. 4.5 is pretty dang good. I read this one when it came out 2 years ago, and I went to the midnight release for House of Flame and Shadow, which was so fun. I have the physical copy, and I'm currently reading that right now, so I'll show that at the end because it's just beautiful. Oh my god, there's too many books up here. So I read Kingdom of Ash, which I, of course, gave 5 stars, but again, it's down there. I'm not gonna pick it up. So the next book was a fun one, and I vlogged a lot of this one with Brock. We both read Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and I have never read this book before, neither had Brock. Brock is my husband, and he's getting really into the classics. Like, he really, really likes philosophy and a lot of nonfiction, you know, not up my alley. But this one was fiction, but it's a classic, so he was willing to read it. He loved it. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. Hilarious. I laughed out loud so much during this book, and I actually have 2 other copies. We have 4 copies of Pride and Prejudice in our house right now. Brock's copy, I have the Penguin edition and the like an unabridged edition, and then I got this at Barnes & Noble the other day because I was like, it's too pretty. I thought that Elizabeth Bennet just has this attitude that I absolutely love. Now, you know what I loved most? If you've read this, or if you haven't but you want to, Mr. Darcy is my husband. Quotes out of this book that Mr. Darcy says about himself are my husband, Brock Covington. To a T. Just, there were some things in here. Let me pull up, actually. I want to read a quote. Page 171. I certainly have not the talent which some people possess, said Darcy, of conversing easily with those I've never seen before. I cannot catch their tone of conversation or appear interested in their concerns, as I often see done. I love my husband to death, but he is Mr. Darcy, 100%. He's not that approachable. He's nice when you get to know him. It's just so funny. Like, Brock and I both were just cracking up reading this. We did watch the movie the other day, and we want to watch the 1995 version, but it's nowhere to be found on any streaming services. Maybe if you guys let me know. So we watched the 2005 one, which was okay. Keira Knightley, my mom pointed out her teeth in that movie. No offense, Keira Knightley, but like, my mom pointed it out before we watched it, and I was like, thanks, you just ruined her teeth for me. So That was mean, Mom. And then I read The Huntress by Kate Quinn. And last year I read 3 Kate Quinn books. So I saw this at Tattered Cover in the used section last year and I bought it. I was like, I love Kate Quinn. I'm gonna read this. I didn't end up reading it last year, so I read it this year. I did download the audiobook of this one. I would half read, half listen to this. It is set in World War II and there are 3 point of views. Loved 2 of the POVs, but I didn't love one of the POVs. I gave this one 4 stars. It would have gotten like 4.5 or 5, but that third POV really dragged out for me and I could not get into it. Every chapter that she came up, I was like, I don't want to hear your POV, no offense. Great book, high stakes, lots of fun. If you like historical fiction at all and you haven't read it, you should. Like it's a wonderful book. I'm gonna recommend it like crazy, like I have with Kate Quinn since I read The Rose Code last year. So the 7th and final book that I read was My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry by Frederick Backman. Now this was supposed to be in my February TBR, but it became available on Libby. I had a lot of audiobooks this month because I was doing my reread and like really focusing on like reading that, and I would listen to these when I was like driving and cooking and cleaning and doing house things. So the audiobook, so freaking cute. This is about Elsa, who is a 7-year-old girl. She has a very creative, outgoing, no filter grandma, and her grandma, it's no spoiler, her grandma passes away at the beginning of this book, and she, Elsa, is sent on this adventure that her grandmother kind of created for her, and it's all of these letters that her grandmother wrote to neighbors nearby about how sorry she was, and she was like explaining why she was sorry and like all of these different things. And it's a really, really sweet and endearing book about a mother, daughter, and grandmother. Love his books. I think this is the 4th one I've read from him, and I actually have 2 more in my February TBR. So like I picked by accident from my mystery TBR, I picked a few of his books. So I'm reading his backlist, I guess, in February. I feel like I could relate to this book a lot. Like it was super endearing and just like generational trauma, but also some lightness to it. Like it's not traumatic. It's a sweet, sad, cutesy book, but adorable. Frederick Backman, he's one of my favorite authors. 3.5 stars. I would recommend. Wasn't my favorite book ever. I think having like a really young POV, like a 7-year-old, was a lot of fun and different. It was kind of goofy. Like I laughed some, I teared up some. Like it was sweet. It did what it was supposed to do. It did what it was supposed to do. That's a great description. Okay. I'm currently reading this one and tomorrow is February. So this one I will read. I'm not even gonna say the name. Like this one I will finish in February. But if you guys just want a little look. So pretty. And I'm gonna take the sleeve off right now because it's stressing me out. So I am not very far into it and it is actually wonderfully slow. Like I think that this one, a lot is happening because there's a lot of POVs. At least in the other 2 books, I felt like there would be a chapter in one POV and then the next chapter would be in another. This one is like one chapter has like 5 POVs. There's just like breaks in the text. POVs right now and I'm absolutely loving it. Going to the midnight release was so fun. I am vlogging this whole experience, so that will come out. Just feel like being a part of the book community has been the best community I've been a part of, and like I would do anything for them. I would do anything for you guys and my Bookstagram people, all of you guys. I would do anything for. Ask me and I'll do it. And I just had like, I just felt that energy and that love and everything at the midnight book release, and Sarah J Maas really has taken the world by storm. I feel like a Swiftie for Sarah J Maas. Thank you for tuning in. I usually do my wrap-ups in like a specific order from like lowest rated to highest rated. This month I completely forgot to do that, so I will do that next month. My Etsy shop is called Fireheart Embroidery. It is linked down below. All of my social media is linked down below, and again, if you want to see my February TBR, I did a reel for it this month and it is this stack right here. Let's have a good time in February. January was too good. February cannot let me down. And you guys, let me know down below what books you read this month. I love hearing your guys' opinions and thoughts and all of that. So comment down below, follow my social media, look at my Fireheart Embroidery Etsy shop, and I will see you guys in the next video.